Inscriptions on tombstones, when interpreted, provide background information for fascinating analyses of societies, not just in aspects of how we celebrate the dead or the rituals we use for death, but in a broader and more comprehensive way. They provide collective perspectives on world views at given points in time, and they reflect the cultural aspects of the people who created these monuments or mementos. Of course, there is the obvious point that people immediately understand, such as genealogies, but far beyond this, they provide us with an intellectual discourse of the way previous societies have seen the world in which they lived, how they related to that broader view, and how this was played out.
Hello and welcome to Tales from the Tombs. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. In our last program, we concluded a four-part segment on the Cathedral of St. Michael and All Angels. This week we have traveled to the western end of the island to reveal tales to be found here in the Church of St. James. Now, as you are aware, it is arguably one of the more beautiful churches to be found on the island. We would be doing you a disservice if we were to focus primarily on the tombs and the memorial ledgers. Tales from the Tomb, in a sense, salutes the awesome beauty of this church and honor those men and women who worked during the 1980s to restore the church so that we could have tales to present to you. Tales from the Tomb stands in awe of this church's beauty. The Church of St. James is situated on the oldest piece of consecrated land on the island known to us, as recorded on history's page and often referred to as God's Acre. In 1627, the English sailed upon Barbados with the intention of establishing a permanent settlement here. They claimed the island in the name of King James and immediately set about to place the British stamp all over the island. A place of worship was among the first buildings to be erected, and so by 1628 a wooden church was built on this site.
We are here at the St. James Parish Church, God's Holy Acre, the first consecrated site in Barbados, where the first wooden church would have been built in 1628, within a year of the settlement.
This was a sign of dominance and power, but more importantly, it was a sign to the entire world that upon this rock shall be worshipped Jesus Christ, the Redeemer, and its inhabitants shall read the King James Holy Scriptures.
And that church was then replaced by the first stone church in the 1660s. That church was badly damaged in the 1780 hurricane, but survived the 1831 hurricane. But by 1873, it was in such terrible repair that there were then serious discussions about how to repair and restore it. So this church was now extended, rebuilt, restored, repaired beautifully, although the wonderful monumental tablets in the interior have all been preserved. And the church was again restored in 1983 to 84 under Canon Andrew Hatch.
And it's here in the chancel that we've begun our restoration work. When we finished, our project will have taken 3 years and will have cost over $350,000. Paint peeling walls refaced with coral stone, lights concealed, woodwork refinished, a complete facelift which will result in a bright new look which better preserves the building for the future, but which in no way disturbs the dignified historical aura of the church. The congregation of St. James Church realizes the historic value of what has been placed in our care and the need to preserve the fabric of this church in order that future generations may benefit from this tangible evidence of their history.
We're doing all we can to help ourselves. Flea markets, concerts, recitals, a dinner dance, and especially the direct giving of our own members. But this is a national project, and it's larger than we can undertake ourselves. And so we need your financial assistance. We hope perhaps you'll come and tour the church and see what we've accomplished, and then make a covenant over 3 years. As you know, it's tax deductible. We think it deserves your help, and we really need your help.
Evidently, as you can see, Canon Hatch's plea was heeded.
Now, what I'd like you to notice is the porch, because it's not a castellated tower like the later Gothic churches. It's a tower with a simple hip roof, but on the left, a spiral staircase is enclosed within that small, narrow, circular tower. And the pilasters at the front of the tower are very interesting, because these resemble the similar pilasters of the Old Town Police Station. Now, the Old Town Police Station was built on the site of the James Fort, and the similarity with these pillars of the St. James Church suggests to me that both buildings originally were 17th century buildings where this design would have been appropriate, and being attractive, they were retained with the modification and subsequent rebuilding and restoration of the church.
As you enter through either the southern, the western, or the northern porch, and proceeded towards the middle of the cross aisle, pause for a few moments and admire the coral stone pillars on either side.
Certainly one of the most historic and oldest and most beautiful and well-kept churches on the island, with a wide array of funerary plaques and funerary architecture outside. And in fact, you can actually see that it's one of the most successful churches on the island in relation to a developing niche tourism, one might want to say, because many tourists who visit Barbados enjoy visiting our historic churches, and St. James Parish Church leads the way in this church tourism. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Here I am with John Gooden, one of the tour guides of St. James Parish Church. John, how long have you been doing this?
4 years now, and we find it extremely interesting because we get people from all different parts of the world.
Well, I noticed when I came in, I was astonished at the large number of people I saw visiting the church. I mean, is this typical? This looks like it's developing into one of the major tourist attractions of the island. What are your views?
We do this every day of the week, once there's a cruise ship in. And some days, as you know, we get 5 cruise ships in, and so we're very busy. We do it on a Wednesday, and we get the ship that's here, the Carnival Line. We get a lot of Puerto Ricans.
Pero, ¿qué le parece esa iglesia? Su opinión.
Magnífico, es algo, aparte de que viene de pobre, ¿sabes? De una construcción pobre, hace una construcción.
In a nutshell, what that visitor from Puerto Rico pointed out was he and his friends, a large group of Puerto Ricans actually, are on a cruise, and they heard about St. James Parish Church and were brought here. And he said his reaction was very, very positive. He commented on the historic nature of the church, its beauty, and how appealing it was. And he said that essentially, as a group, they shared this view that this was something on their itinerary that was worthwhile, that they had learned much relating to the history of the island. They love the architecture of the church. They love the fact that it is so well kept up, and they enjoyed looking at the stained glass windows and the funerary architecture along the walls of the church. Again, confirmation from the perspective of the tourists that tourism, which also incorporates church architecture and funerary architecture, can be meaningful. And yes, I think that is an aspect of niche tourism in Barbados that can be developed. St. James Parish Church has shown the way, as we heard John Gooden say.
But we also get a lot of people from all different parts. And yes, this has become the second most interesting part of the island to visit after Harrison's Cave, which is really amazing for us as a church.
That is a remarkable statistic. There are many other beautiful churches on the island. St. George's Parish Church is one. St. John's receives a lot of visitors, but St. James seems to have got it down pat. What's his secret that St. James has that the other churches don't have?
Personally, I think it's because we're one of, if not the most beautiful church on the island. A lot of the tourists that come, when they walk in, they feel a presence of peace. Also, it's because it's the first piece of consecrated ground on the island. As well, we have the famous bell that's older than the Liberty Bell, also older than Big Ben as well. We have our original baptismal font, which dates back to 1684. We also have had a visit from President Reagan, also from Kofi Annan as well. And I think people are amazed that, you know, for a little island like that, we have so much history in one place.
I agree with you that I think this is the most beautiful church on the island. Although the whole cadre of Anglican churches on Barbados, they're all beautiful in their own way. But St. James's Parish Church, it's very well kept up. I love the work that's been done inside the church, the original cleaning and rendering of the coral stone. I mean, it actually makes it look like 1,000 years old instead of almost 400 years. Do you agree?
It does. And then people are also amazed at how well it is kept. They love the window system because they can't imagine that we don't have to have air conditioning. You know, so therefore we have a whole bunch of different things that bring people to the church. We also have to thank the taxi drivers that come almost every week and to show the tourists. So
because they recognize the fact that this is appealing. It's a beautiful, lovely place to visit. The community itself benefits because monies got from those visitors that are brought to the church are recycled. And
we use the money that we get as donations towards our outreach programs. We help the needy, we help the children, we help the old people. And so all of those things make for, you know, a good church.
And you would say that you receive community support for doing this?
We do.
So it's a win-win situation. It provides something for tourists to do that's meaningful. It helps with the upkeep of the place, and it also relieves those parts of the community who are less fortunate and who may be in need.
Look overhead in a westerly direction and behold the finery of the 130-year-old pipe organ and the beautiful hand-carved mahogany encasement. Moved eastward towards the sanctuary and admire the mahogany screen, paneling, choir stalls, altar and pulpit carved from local trees. Ponder on the roof beams.
If you look up at the ceiling, you see what is called a hammer beam ceiling supporting the roof structure. Very impressive, but all the same, it's a beautiful church which gives you a great feeling of being a very sacred place. On the horizontal part of the hammer beam ceiling are some beautiful pretend candles which a loving worshipper at St. James Parish Church gave as a gift. So when the lights come on, you think you are seeing hundreds of candles overhead lighting up the church.
Allow your eyes to wander towards the central stained glass window as it presents the ascension of our Lord.
The chancel was extended when the church was rebuilt in 1874-75, and the stained glass window came a great deal later, not until 1924.
To the glory of God and in memoriam, 1914-1918. So reads the inscription on this beautiful east window, which was placed over the altar in 1924.
It is a memorial honoring those who fell in the First World War, 1914 to 1918, and was presented to the church in 1924, 1 year before our national memorial was erected and dedicated in our capital city, Bridgetown. Turn around and focus on the two pews at the front. The one to your right was occupied by the late United States President Ronald Reagan and his wife Nancy when they worshiped in this church Easter Sunday 1982 during a presidential visit to the island.
We welcome our distinguished guests, and it is also a great privilege for me to be able to welcome the President of the United States and his good wife, Mr. and Mrs. Reagan. We hope that they will carry back with them fond memories of Barbados, and especially of St. James, having a privilege to worship in the oldest church in the island. We are indeed happy to have them with us.
Look to your left and you'll find a photograph of retired United Nations Secretary General Kofi Annan and his wife who worshipped here in 2001 during a visit to open the United Nations building in Barbados.
And most important visitors that we have tended to concentrate in the parish of St. James because Sir Edward Cunard and Ronald Tree, they were the wealthy, famous expatriates who fell in love with Barbados, made Barbados famous, and as a result brought hundreds and hundreds of millionaires and today billionaires to live in Barbados and improve our economy. Because after all, who doesn't like to come and live in paradise?
Pause for a moment and admire the beautiful pews made from imported teak. Turn left and as you proceed towards the Lady Chapel, you'll come upon the organ console. Note that the music is transmitted electrically to the pipes. The modern stained glass window depicts a tropical garden with the beautiful blooms between the blue sky and the Caribbean Sea. Locally designed, it was built in 1991 from 987 pieces of stained glass.
The church has recently been declared an historic monument by the National Trust. The south porch is used as the baptistry and contains the original font, which was given to the church by Richard Walter in 1684. The mahogany cover is a more recent addition, donated by the late Dr. Aline Gibbons in memory of his daughter.
This is the very, very ancient baptismal fonts, built of Italian marble. And this is one of the reasons why this original church porch, we think, has been preserved and is part of the very oldest section of the church, 1684.
While here, your eyes will gravitate towards the beautiful stained glass window which graphically interprets the baptism of the Ethiopian eunuch by St. Philip on the road from Jerusalem, found in Acts chapter 8, verse 26 to 40.
This stained glass window was donated in 1875 by the widow of Colonel Bishop Culpeper. Now, the Culpeper family was a very important old family in Barbados. Our only remaining dependency is Culpeper Island, named after an early member of that family, and John Culpeper was the surveyor who went to Charleston soon after its settlement in the early 1670s to draw up the plan for Charleston. So the Culpepers have been commemorated in many ways, and this Culpeper was a member of the 14th Light Dragoons, and his widow erected this stained glass window in his memory. On my right is a beautiful arched replica, if you like, of a stained glass window, but created in a very different way, but of enormous historical origin.
A beautiful mosaic done by the artist Heidi Berger, triptych showing the Tree of Life. The Tree of Life is an icon that is regularly used in Christian symbolism and in Jewish symbolism as well. if you go to the Jewish synagogue on the island, you will see many of the early tombstones depicting the hand of God emerging from the clouds, cutting down the tree of life.
And what she did was to actually salvage some of the old leaden panes, cames as they're called, and she preserved these, and then she put together this lovely illustration of the tree of life using bits of old Barbadian ceramics for the roots and the soil. This comes from the soil, so it's a beautiful representation. And around the border she has bits of old clay pipe that have been salvaged from the fields of Barbados, bits of old ceramics, the blue willow pattern ceramics, and then the blue and green sea glass form the actual foliage of the tree of life. And Heidi Berger created this very, very recently, described as the tree of life mosaic in antique lead came on wood. It's actually a triptych because there are 3 main panels. There are actually 4 cames put together, but one of them has been less obvious, so it's described as a triptych, and it was given to the glory of God in memory of Jack and Marjorie Gill by Richard and Linda Gill. Richard is a Barbados town planner consultant. He was our 3rd town planner in Barbados, and he and his wife commissioned Heidi and had this wonderful panel dedicated to his parents.
Proceed now to the northern entrance and find the original bell cast in England in 1696.
This is one of the most ancient bells in the Americas and installed in the first stone church.
The original church bell, dated 1696, which, by the way, predates the famous American Liberty Bell by 54 years, rests on a new plinth in the north porch.
After 200 years of serving the parishioners, sounding the celebration of Mass, symbolizing the joy of weddings, the exaltation on Easter morning, or the doleful rain at a funeral, the bell fell from the belfry and was badly cracked.
And Mr. Allen of Porters agreed to take it to London to be recast. But when he got there, perhaps on the advice of the bell makers, it was decided that he should buy a new bell for the church on the condition that this amazing, huge, gigantic bell should be kept in permanent place in the church.
Forster Elaine of Porters, realizing the value of preserving for future generations, raised sufficient money to defray the cost of a new bell. And the vestry agreed that the old bell would be kept in the church forever.
It predates the American Liberty Bell in Philadelphia by 56 years and Big Ben, the bell in the clock tower at the Palace of Westminster, London, by 162 years. On the southwestern wall of the nave is found a Ethiopian-style hunger veil, a 3-panel mural depicting scenes from the Bible, presented in 1988 by retired rector Canon Andrew Hatch and his wife Sheila in thanksgiving for loving parents, children, and friends.
And it is done in the style of the Ethiopian iconographers. So it is done in a centuries-old tradition of Ethiopian-style painting, dominated, of course, with Christ making the ultimate sacrifice and taking on the burdens of the world onto his shoulders. But in each frame, there are stories told relating to aspects of Christianity. The colors are vibrant, and it speaks to the universality of Christian forbearance, the suffering that Christ endured, and the deliverance promised to the world. So, in short, it is a visual representation of many aspects of the Christian faith.
At the back of the church, you'll find a mounted display of old pages from the church register showing baptisms, marriage, and deaths around 1695.
The smallpox epidemic continues, and from November 1695 to February 1696, 7 more deaths are recorded, included on February the 5th. Catherine, the daughter of Sir Martin Bentley, deceased, and Mary, the Lady Bentley, on February 16th. On a happier note, the marriage took place on March 3rd of William Thomas and Anne Jones. She married without clothes. Now, how do you do that in a Christian church? Well, perhaps I suspect she married without the traditional wedding gown.
The Devil's Gate is on the north side of the churchyard. Tradition has it that this gate is opened when the bell rings for service so that the devil can leave. It's planned to restore this area, rebuild the gate, and mount a plaque on the wall similar to the one on the southeast corner.
As you can see, the Devil's Gate has been restored. The plaque has been erected and mounted on the wall, and a seat has been installed here for your relaxation and comfort.
A walk through the churchyard and the church can be a journey through our island's history, as many original settlers and noted Barbadians have been laid to rest here. Commander-in-Chief of Barbados Samuel Barwick lies buried here under a marble slab dated 1732. It's our wish to repair and restore these plaques and headstones and to maintain them in the future.
Good news, that wish has become a reality. Thanks to retired rector Canon Andrew Hatch, the dedicated workers of the church and all those who donated, St. James Church, with its beauty and added attractions such as the memorial plaques, ledgers, vaults, and tombstones, is now enjoying the wholesome benefits of church tourism. Its beautiful exhibition of funerary architecture can be used as an income generator, but more importantly, to tell the story of the nation. Enabling the church to be a community of welcome and hospitality is central to its mission. Indeed, welcoming others is all part of our response to how God in Christ welcomes us. Next week, we shall reveal the tales from the restored vaults, memorial ledgers, plaques, and the tombs here inside and outside of the Church of St. James. I'm Sherwood McCaskey. Good evening.